Welcome to the podcast. We do recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
Easter weekend is here, everybody. Easter weekend is here. Listen, I hope you got your eggs. I hope you've hard-boiled them. I hope that you got all the different colors and the dye out, right? Get those hard shell eggs that split in the middle and get your candy. It's time for some Easter hunting. It's time for some family. It's time for some good food. It is Easter weekend, baby.
Yeah, I just had an epiphany. Wait, you have to use vinegar, right, on the eggs?
Yes, you're supposed to.
Isn't that what they fed Jesus on the cross? They put vinegar in the sponge?
I don't know.
That just clicked. I'm like, isn't that what they did?
That's great. I have no idea.
Oh, my gosh. By doing Easter eggs, we're sacrilegious.
Do you think
that ruins everything.
Do you think that if you Googled that, it would tell you? Do you think somebody knew back then?
You talk, I'll Google.
Okay. All right. Listen, everybody, today for episode 77, I have invited on an amazing guest. Her name is Lana Rose Nilsson. Mm-hmm. Lana's come on to talk a little recovery with me today, spread a little message of hope. Before that, though, episode 77 is brought to you by Steps Recovery Centers, where they are ready to help you or a loved one get help as soon as you're ready to get help. Check it out. They have detox. They have residential. They have outpatient. Residential is inpatient, so detox, inpatient, outpatient. From start to finish, they are ready to help you or a loved one. Just reach out. Give them a call at 801-800-8142. Or you can go to their website at stepsrc.com. I used to do that really fast, and I got asked to slow down.
Oh, really?
So that you can actually understand what I'm saying.
You have to throw in the https:// if you will. Thank you.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
We love Steps. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring this podcast. So Lana, look at that smile, man. You are ready to rock and roll. I love it. So we always start off with new and good. Like, what is currently going on in your world? Let's practice a little positive psychology, right? It's real easy to complain about the gas prices these days. Real easy to complain about, all the craziness in the world. What is new and good in your life?
Oh, well, I recently just started dating. I got
Wow, okay.
I got the word that it was time I was well enough that I could bring another person into my world. So that's been a whole new spin on.
Where did that message come? Was that like an epiphany you had?
It was a suggestion from people in the fellowship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. How much clean time do you have?
4 years.
4 years.
My sobriety date is 2/2/2018.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, would you recommend that other people wait 4 years?
No. No, I think the original suggestion is a year, but so I waited that time actually, and then got into a relationship, didn't work out, and so I took some more time, I guess, to really work on myself.
Hey, that's awesome, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, good luck in the dating game. Any good apps out there you're using?
Bumble, but mostly it's people I know, I guess, word of mouth, or people at church too.
Are you getting set up on blind dates?
Yeah, a few. I have a few.
How are those? Any funny stories?
No. One of them. Well, it was a friend of my aunt's, and I went over to a party, and they were drinking there, and he got pretty loaded. I brought a friend, but yeah. So that was kind of funny. I got to see a different.
Did he know? Did he know about you at all? Did he know you were in recovery?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I had a bad date like that one time too, right? So I'm married now. We're going to turn this into a dating podcast apparently, but I was dating, and I took this lovely lady to dinner, and the entire time she was on her phone, right?
Oh man. And
the plan was, I told her ahead of time, we're going to go to dinner and then to a movie. Well, after dinner, it was one of the most awkward, she was talking, but while she was texting or doing something, right? So afterwards I was like, hey, check it out. I don't really feel like the vibe is right here. It seems like you're a little bit more into your phone. So let's just skip the movie. And then she's like, wait, what? I thought it was going great. And I was like, yeah, apparently.
Oh, that's the worst.
So you have some bad experiences.
Yeah, I know that it's hard. The whole dating scenario is hard because it's awkward and it's almost easier to just not do it.
For sure.
So it's another fear that I have to get over, fear hurdle.
There you go.
Which there's a lot of them. And
some growing pains.
yes.
Fantastic.
Constantly.
Let's check in with Sean Denman. Sean Denman, what is new and good in your world, man?
Everything's fine. Thanks for asking.
Come on, we got to get more than that.
I don't know. It's been a rough week.
Has it?
So you're asking for new and good. I'm like, yeah, I got to think about that one for a second. But I'm kind of blown away with this whole vinegar thing that just came to mind. The whole vinegar eggs, vinegar Jesus thing.
That's good. Did you Google it?
I'm still trying to find anything that stands out about it, but nothing's really like popped out yet.
No?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just, maybe wasn't
I'm
a
the
thing.
first guy that thought about that.
Or maybe,
Wow.
maybe they really didn't put vinegar.
Maybe don't take away my
Yeah.
steam, man. Let
okay.
me have my moment here.
All right.
Jeez.
Sean Denman, the first person to correlate vinegar on eggs and vinegar in the sponge.
There you go. Boom. Boom. All right. I'm gonna.
They have sponges back then?
Yeah, sponges.
Did they?
Yeah. Remember, he said, "I thirst," and so then they put some vinegar on the sponge and they put it up to Jesus' mouth while he was on the cross,
Oh.
and he did not partake.
You know what, though? I'm glad you brought all this up because it really, like, it's important to remember, you know, the Easter is about.
Bunny rabbits. Oh, sorry, Jesus, my bad.
Yes, it is. It is about Jesus. All right, well, my new and good. This next week. Thank you for that mid-sentence. So this time next week, I won't be here. So Dr. Sellers is going to be here next week with a guest. I will be on my way to Warshaw, Indiana. I'm one of the speakers at it's Bridge the Gap. It's a Bridge the Gap event out there. It's going to be April 23rd. And if you go to Pain to Purpose, you'll be able to watch that. There should be some amazing speakers. People, they have a guy performing, singing. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. I don't want to ruin it by name dropping everybody, but definitely check that out. So,
Very cool.
here we are.
Here we are.
You ready to talk some recovery?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Lana. So, I mean, everybody's story has a place. Like, you know, where does your story start for you?
Well, I think so. Actually, I grew up Montana, was homeschooled. I think that's part of some of my, I don't know, insecurities, I guess. I think I always felt like kids knew stuff that I didn't. And so that kind of played into I found that through, you know, some work on myself but yeah, so we moved to St. George. And
So kind of like you were left out a little bit.
yeah, a little
which
bit.
probably increased social anxiety.
Yes.
Made you get inside your head.
Yes. Uh-huh.
You know what, though? I find that interesting because a lot of people that come on this podcast say when they were younger, they felt like they just were missing something that somebody else had.
Right.
Like
yes.
almost like a fear of missing out, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put words to it. Yes.
It's
that's
just a
how I
weird
felt.
correlation that a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Yeah. So St. George, we moved to St. George when I was about 14, really involved in the church and sports. I played sports. And my mom periodically would pull me out of sports because I would get so intense on it, you know, which is very addict behavior.
You were very competitive.
Yes.
And
right.
just so you know, we have listeners all over the United States and across seas. So when you say the church,
Oh, okay. Mormon church. I grew up in the
LDS faith.
LDS faith. Yes.
Latter-day Saints.
Latter-day Saints.
so you're super competitive, soccer player.
Water polo.
Water
I swam.
polo?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I started the first water polo team here in St. George. So that was fun. And then, you know, it just started out. I remember, you know, I smoked my first cigarette when I was young. And I actually remember the first time I missed practice to go smoke a cigarette, you know, and I think that was I started choosing, you know, substances, I guess, over my sport, which is really telling now I look back. But it started out I remember getting Oxycontins and I would do them after work, you know, after I was done with my day, and I'd write poetry. You know, I felt like it connected me to.
This is at 14.
No. Sorry, I jumped some years. This is 18, 19.
So I got to ask.
Yeah.
Because I can remember my first cigarette too.
Okay.
When you smoked that first cigarette, did you think this is delicious?
No.
Right?
know.
What was your first thought? Just curious.
I don't know. I saw my older sisters do it, so I always just thought it was cool looking,
Yeah.
you know, and that was mostly it. I thought it was cool.
Too funny.
So yeah.
Too funny. My dad caught me chewing when I was little.
He did.
Yeah. And so he was going to do like aversion therapy, right? Where you like, you know, make you hate it. So he made me put the whole can in my mouth, right? The whole can
I've
of
heard
chew.
that. Yeah.
And I was so sick. But to this day, I still have a nicotine issue.
Me too. Yeah.
So parents out there, listen, that doesn't work, right? Don't make them smoke the whole pack, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm getting sideways here. I'm just trying to have some fun with you. Okay.
No, I love it.
So we
It's
fast
great.
forward a few years.
Yeah, fast forward a few years. So, yeah, it started out like that. My idea of it was that it helped me be closer to the spiritual realm. You know, write poetry, and that was kind of my idea of it. And then it quickly started progressing. You know, then I was doing lines of OxyContin at church, and you know what I mean, during the day, and it just progressed relatively.
So it started off
Quick.
kind of recreationally, or like for you to kind of escape, get more into your art, feel maybe a little bit more spiritual connection with whatever you're involved in.
Yes.
And then the dependence, it sounds like, is starting to set in. Where
Yeah.
you need it more and more.
It definitely, the dependence started to, take over. And I remember I moved, well, it was a few years out, you know, it progressively started to get worse. And this is after some years too of, you know, the 8-ball and drinking on the weekends. It was, you know, it was kind of all these things that just laid into each other. And it, of course, just increased in my daily life. But I remember I moved to California, and then I started making trips back. I had my dealer, you know, trips back on the weekend to pick up, or I'd have my dealer, you know, FedEx me
Sure.
the pills. Yeah. I got in a major car accident. I have a lot of car accidents in my story. No hospital visits yet, but yeah, I moved to get away from myself. During that time too, I actually moved to the Caribbean with an ex-boyfriend. And that was on a whole there. That's when I moved back to St. George after a major car accident in California. And I started messing around with heroin, and I knew it was getting, you know, bad enough to the point that people could tell, I guess. And
Sure.
that's a lot of it too, is just switching drugs when it got too bad, or, you know, moved to alcohol. I did a lot of that.
You said something, though, that interests me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the moving around a lot. You said I moved
Yeah.
to try to get away from myself. Like,
Yeah.
did you ever, and the problem is no matter where we go, there we are, right?
Yeah.
Was the narration in your mind like, hey, fresh start? All I need to do is move to California, and then I can quit doing all this stuff. I'll just be away from it.
Yeah, I think I always put it like it was the people around me that were causing the problem. You know what I mean? If I could just get away from these people, or people I know I can get from, or I never thought it was me that was.
Yeah, it's always their fault, right?
Yeah,
That's we love to rationalize and justify.
I know.
Listen, I'm laughing with you because I can
Yeah.
totally relate. It's never us.
Yeah, it's never.
Never.
That never crossed my mind.
So California, back to St. George, Caribbean.
Caribbean, yes.
What were you doing in the Caribbean?
Just working I had a guy that I waited for. He went to war. This is after, 9/11. And
So you were dating a guy in the military.
yeah, guy in the military. I waited for him, and when he got back, he wanted to move to the Caribbean. And I thought this timing was needed. You know what I mean? It's probably a year after he got back, because I was getting bad enough that I thought, okay, I need to go.
It interests me though. Do you feel like you were dependent on OxyContin at this point? Or were there pockets of sobriety within all this moving? Like, did you move there and genuinely try and get a little progress and then fall back into it? Or did you go there and it just was the same?
Well, I just switched addictions when I got to the Caribbean. You know what I mean? I probably did that a lot, where it was like, all right, I can leave my heroin behind, my dealers, and I really genuinely thought, I would be good. And like, I always thought the great obsession I've had is that I would be, if I just took away the drugs and alcohol, I would be better, and I could go back to normal life. you know.
I'm so glad you said that because that is so profound that I don't think I've heard anybody ever say before.
Yeah. And that really wasn't
because
the
the
case.
drugs and alcohol really aren't the problem.
Yeah, they're not.
That's going to sound crazy, right? But they're not.
They're not. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll get to that maybe a little bit more later. But okay. So you're moving back and forth.
Yeah, moving back and forth. The Caribbean it ended up, the relation after he got back from war there was some abuse. I guess it became abusive. And probably because he didn't know what to do with me also. Not that that's an excuse, but I was just off the chains, the alcoholic, hardcore, Coke.
You were completely in over your head at this point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Out of control. And it was kind of accepted in the islands. There was a lot of people that were doing that. So, but I was a different level.
You were just trying to be culturally appropriate. Sounds like.
It's just
right?
fitting in.
Listen,
yeah.
Lana, I'm going to co-sign your BS all day. I'm loving it. Okay. She's just trying to fit in, everybody.
Yeah.
Right? It's everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
All right. Where do we go from here?
So I moved back after kind of a traumatic event with him that, really, yeah, just another, in my disease, it's kind of like I perpetuated these traumatic events or these experiences that I never really got. I don't know. Later on, I learned from them, but I never took the time out to kind of heal or, you know what I mean, to really help look at those things and bring myself to a different level. So, but yeah, so I moved back from that. I moved actually, when I got back, I moved back to California. And this time I went to school, esthetician school, and I got into therapy and I was doing hot yoga, twice a day, my obsessive whatever. So I really dove into.
What triggered the change?
Was
there any kind of intervention from family or a friend or was there an epiphany you came to on your own? Like, that's pretty significant, right? You go from, partying like there's no tomorrow in the Caribbean. You have this unfortunate event with your boyfriend when he comes back, which I'm sure, listen, if he was military, I'm sure he had a lot of stuff he was struggling with too.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go back to California and now all of a sudden it's like therapy and hot yoga.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what influenced that, Lana?
Well, I think it was a near death experience in the Caribbean that really, something that big I really wanted to change.
That was the event with the boyfriend.
Yes. Okay. So I just dove into, and slowly, and granted I was still drinking on the weekends. It slowly started to perpetuate.
Well, yeah, you were living in California. You were California sober.
Exactly.
Apparently that's a thing.
Yeah.
Apparently that's a thing these days, right?
Yeah, I know. I never liked the pot thing, but
it's terrible. I totally disagree with California sober. But anyways, it was a funny little jab. Okay.
I know.
So you're drinking on the weekends.
Yeah, drinking on the weekends and yeah, always, able to control it or what I thought was control. I remember I moved in with a friend down there. Found out later she was a prostitute, you know what I mean, which that kind of came out later, but she was taking a lot of prescriptions and, hey, you should go to my doctor. You're taking enough of my pills. So then I got on the pills. And then I had another traumatic event. Was raped by a serial rapist. I later had to go back and testify against him. There were 74 victims in that case. Sorry. No, I worked through it. Sure. A lot of people don't get justice on that stuff. So I'm just grateful it worked out.
I'm so sorry you had that experience though.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks, Jared. Yeah.
But you're a survivor.
Yeah, I'm a survivor, and that, yeah. So during this time too, I moved back to St. George, and this is when intervention actually happened.
Hold on a minute. The TV show?
Yes. So TV show on A&E.
In St. George, Utah.
Yeah, St. George, Utah. I was on intervention.
Wow.
And so my life was pretty much in shambles. My family knew it, and I wasn't talking about, any of it. I'm not even sure if they believed this story, about this rape case, and my drinking was just out of control at this point. I really didn't know how to deal with the trauma. The trauma from that came from, they showed me the video of my rape. They showed me, and I think that caused like a replay in my head that was really, I didn't know how to deal with that. And then being the lead witness, no therapy or no one to talk to about it. Was kind of a weird space I was in.
Yeah, and which is totally understandable, right? Like I'm a substance abuse counselor, and so basically what I hear is, due to your trauma response, you tried to cope with alcohol.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Or it sounds like other substances as well, but yeah. I mean, people think, and like we touched on earlier, people think that the drugs and alcohol are the problem. Oftentimes it's not, right? We put ourselves at higher risk when we're involved in it, for sure.
Right.
But then typically we get to a point where we can't stop. It moves from recreationally to daily when there's other type of traumas that happen that go unaddressed. And that's not everybody's story, but that's a lot of people's story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I guess I'll give myself some grace. Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, for sure. So one day all of a sudden cameras just show up?
Yeah, it was funny because
I've always wondered, how does that even start?
Like, I know.
How do people even, like,
that's normally the question I get from people. But it was my sister told me it was it was a documentary that for a community college in Northern California, and no one would see it. And my family kept bothering me to do it, and I finally just said, whatever. Yeah, okay. And they showed up at my door, and they just, a whole crew of them, and just recorded and followed me around for a week. And apparently I was the only one that, that really thought it was, no one would see this thing. And,
but you know what, though, our awareness when we're in active addiction, our awareness is terrible.
Terrible.
So I believe you, right? Like,
right.
They would have got me to hook, line, and sinker for sure.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
don't be too hard on yourself.
Sure.
Like, no, I was the only one that believes these people. Okay. So you got cameras following you around.
So yeah, that was pretty shocking once I found out it was going to be on national television.
Did you feel a little betrayed?
Absolutely. Yes, I did. I really did. I felt like, man, this is my 15 minutes of fame, and I'm at my worst state.
Right.
And plus they talked, they even brought up the rape, which I thought wasn't even,
they brought it up in the documentary.
So there was things that I totally felt violated on. And I remember I flew out to treatment, Florida. And I think the first 2 months of treatment, I didn't even speak. I was really just in shock of like the whole situation. And so I'm not really sure if I got any treatment. I was just in shock, but.
So for 2 months, now where did you go? You went Florida.
Florida. It was Ambrosia, the treatment center in Delray Beach, Florida.
And how was that? How was your experience there?
It was, I met a lot of amazing people that I still talk to today. I met one of the greatest, David. He was a guy that I dated. He passed away about 3 years ago from, I think it was a heart issue, so yeah, I met some amazing people all from the East Coast, and the experience was great. I wouldn't change it back, or I wouldn't change it for anything. But I knew that if I went to treatment again, it would be on my, when I wanted to. Because I was aware at that time, too, that I wasn't ready for change, and I told everyone that. I said, look, I'm not ready to get sober.
Which is an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, like, I know that our justice system, when they refer people to treatment, I agree with that, right? Because I feel like it helps provide structure, it helps provide accountability and support. But one of the things that I hear from a lot of people that end up going back out once they've gone straight from jail into treatment and then they lapse is, I wanted my last time to be when I wanted my last time to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like some step 3 control stuff. I don't quite know what it was, but it was true for you as well.
Yes. Yeah, totally. I knew it wasn't gonna last, but or I guess at that time, things are always different. When I stayed sober for a long period of time, and then I remember everyone at the halfway house had relapsed, and so I was peeing for all the girls in the house. There was
Wow.
and still kind of not putting it together that I was doing it on my own. So I knew, but really the environment, I don't know. I really think it changed to get sober in the place that I kind of started from, which is here in St. George. I really think that was where a shift happened for me, you know?
Let's put a pin in it right there because we got a little break coming up here.
Okay.
That, and I want to get back to the thought process behind peeing for everybody in the female sober living house. That's crazy. All right, everybody, this one's flown by fast. Join us for part 2 of episode 77. Lana's just barely touching the surface.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, sponsored by Steps Recovery Center and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm Desmond Lomax, one of the clinical executives here at Steps Recovery, and once you become of the Steps family, you're just a part of the Steps family. A lot of us have overcome substances, overcome addiction, and now we're able to help other people. Second of all, we're also going to help you in a way where you can afford to be helped. Third of all, we're going to give you the same quality that many organizations are charging 2 to 3 times, and it's more about you than it is about our organization.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
Hey, yo, everybody. We're back for episode 77, part 2. We got Lana Rose Nilsson here. She's talking about her journey, which has been kind of a super interesting one for me. I just barely learned this week, actually, that you were on intervention. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I know in the recovery community locally here in St. George, Utah, you're like a powerhouse. Everybody I talk to is like, you got to get Lana on. You got to get. So now I understand it. Now it's starting to make sense, right? It's starting to make sense.
Thanks, Jared.
We'll dive back into her story. Before that, though, episode 77, part 2 is brought to us by the Hilton Garden Inn. If you or loved ones looking for a little vacay and want to travel through southern Utah, go to Google. Type in Hilton Garden. Hilton Garden in Utah. I'm having so much fun with Lana. I can't even get through this, Sean. They have amazing amenities. It is always sunny and bright at the Hilton Garden Inn in St. George, Utah. Thank you, Hilton, for sponsoring this podcast. We also have Recovery Strong. Recovery Strong is all about... No, we don't have... Okay, here we go.
No.
Boom, Sean Denneman.
I got 85 buttons. I was like, where is it? It's right there.
Recovery Strong is all about fighting addiction and strengthening recovery. Listen, there's a stigma to this thing. Be a part of the movement. Go to recoverystrong.com, grab you a t-shirt, grab you a hat. Don't be ashamed to wear your recovery out loud. All right. Thank you, Recovery Strong, for also sponsoring this podcast. Okay, so we were talking about, intervention. You were one of the first people on there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was season 5.
Oh, so not one of the first.
Yeah, not
Way
one of the
okay,
first.
my
No.
bad.
No, but I don't know how many seasons they have now, but yeah, it's pretty back there. It was, I want to say 2008 is when, yeah.
So Sean Denneman has found a little treat here for us. If he can, let's see if we can share. There it is.
Oh,
there you are, Lana. Lana Rose.
Yeah.
Season 5, episode 8.
It was a mess. Yeah.
Original air date, February of 2009.
Yeah, it's interesting because my sobriety date
Thanks, Sean.
landed on the day this aired. Isn't that interesting?
Really?
Years later. Yeah, my sister found that.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Which tells me something, Lana.
What?
Which tells me that rehab the first time didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get that.
Yeah.
So you left us at your peeing for the other 4 women in your sober living house.
Yeah, it was more like 8 women.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pee, girl.
Yeah, they had a...
Sorry, Sean.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't know if it was all 8 of them every day, but I remember there were
Right.
stacks of cups. Yeah.
Forgive me. I think I'm funny. I'm probably
No.
not, but forgive me.
It is funny. But yeah, so that was it. It was an interesting experience. I didn't stay sober long. I actually got kicked out of that halfway house because I was in the guy's dorm I was dating a guy he was from Maryland. His
Rehab
name was-
romance.
Yep.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah.
It's too bad it happens, but it happens. No judgment. No judgment. Okay.
No, it does. But so we moved. We actually moved up to Maryland and stayed right on the shady side of Maryland. We moved there, and I lived there with his family for a little bit, and it just got worse and worse. He was drinking. I remember, mouthwash at first. He was.
He started drinking mouthwash.
Yeah, mouthwash was his thing, and I couldn't really do that, but I drink occasionally with him.
I'm just curious. I mean, you have a lot of experience, and it seems like we've had couples on here in previous episodes that started a rehab romance and been able to stay clean together.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. What is it about wanting to get into a relationship in early recovery? I mean, because we're not even talking finished with a program at that point.
Yeah.
Like for you, what was it?
I think it's always, we always want to change the state of, it can change our feelings or get us out of basically looking at myself. I'll speak for myself here. I didn't have to focus on myself. I could focus on this relationship and how to make him happy. And, it's just a distraction from looking at myself, that's probably the hardest thing I've had to do in recovery is really analyze, what I can change and what makes me tick.
And is a good distraction. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's some validation in relationships.
Yes,
there's some distraction in relationships. Mm-hmm. If I have low self-esteem, which now I'm talking from my personal experience, I have low self-esteem and here I have this other person showing me some attention and this other person validating me. It's like starting to hit some of those same dopamine and pleasure systems in my brain that opiates used to hit. Right?
Yes. Without a doubt.
Crazy.
It can be powerful.
Okay, so you're living in Maine.
So, Maine, yeah. So I ended up we got in a domestic dispute. He went to jail, and I ended up flying back to St. George. So here I come on back to back home.
This is home hub for you. Okay.
So, and that's when I would say my disease really took off, went to a whole nother level there because I think being now on a reality TV show for addiction, I really gave myself I'm an addict and this is, I just, took that and ran with it. And so my using really hit a new bottom and a new low. And that's when I started IV using and, heroin, gel, in and out of gel, the hospital, it was bad for a long period of time there. And I think I used that as an excuse.
Sounds like that's kind of when your mental health addiction or when your addiction turned into another piece, which is the mental health piece. I think anytime I hear of people that are IV using and, hospital trips and high risk situations, I always think of passive suicidal ideation.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Right? So you're not purposely trying to kill yourself, but you also don't care if you die. Yes. Yeah. Is that a pretty fair estimate of your headspace at that point in your journey?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, that's really when things, when you just don't care. When my body became like a vehicle to get high, I really didn't care what, I was doing to myself.
Despite whatever consequence came from it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's a scary, scary phase.
It is. It's really scary.
It's a scary phase. Yeah. It is. It's okay.
Yeah. So, but I remember, I'll just tell you my spiritual experience real quick. Oh, I know this is good stuff. Here we
go. I love it.
So I was living with a guy here in Washington and I woke up and it was, I call it like a true moment of acceptance. Like I woke up and knew, I felt like I was in hell, like in a purgatory. And I was pretty sure that I didn't wake up, that I was in hell. I wasn't sure if I OD'd the night before. And I don't know if it was a spiritual experience, psychosis. I really don't know what it was, but I remember being aware of my sick state and how all my relationships were sick. And it was, I could see it for what it was. And so that went on for about a week. And I kept hoping that I'd wake up from this, this bad dream.
So now when you say wake up, like you physically woke up one day and your perception was different?
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand it.
I know. So I woke up, Yeah, and I just thought maybe I was in the spirit world, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I was in purgatory and I was aware of it. And so I just didn't know how to get out of it, I guess.
But you're
I don't know how to explain.
actually awake, walking around.
I'm
doing
actually
daily
awake.
Things.
Yes,
Okay.
And now I remember at the end of that week, I thought I just had a come to Jesus moment, and I really accepted where I was at, and no one would be with me. No one would be with me on this journey. My family, no one was, I was alone, and I needed to climb out of this thing by myself. Yeah, for me, that was, because I was constantly blaming other people or, so that was a moment of acceptance I had. And I checked in. Good thing the last time I was in jail, some of the girls were talking about treatment center. And so I actually had started that process. So I actually checked into Steps Treatment Center.
Did you really?
Yes.
Fantastic. Did you graduate?
Yes.
We have an alumni of Steps sitting right here. Another thing I did not know. I'm just learning all kinds of cool stuff about you today.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
How long ago was this?
This is 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 years ago. So
You checked yourself in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Internally motivated.
Yeah. Packed my own bag.
Makes all the difference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
No TV show needed.
Yeah.
No high pressure situation. You had just accepted that you're ready to get some help.
Yeah.
Man,
Finally.
I could hug you right now. That's awesome. I
Oh,
love
thanks,
that.
Jared.
I love that.
Yeah,
Cool.
It was good. And that's where everything, I guess it just started, the first 6 months of recovery where I wasn't sure if I was still in hell or, you know what I mean? I was really in a weird mind space.
I'm sure when you were going through treatment, you thought you were in hell, right? Yeah. Listen, I love all the clients that we treat at Steps. I do. The residential clients are by far the toughest.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
There's a reason why you send your loved one to treatment. It's so you don't have to deal with the stuff that we deal with in a residential treatment setting, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. People and personalities. And listen, to be fair, it's their lowest point. They're the sickest of being sick, right? I mean, and so it requires a extra layer of empathy for those people. Because when they're having crisis and they're having chaos and they're having their come aparts, you've got to be able to see yourself in that situation and remember what that was like, and just try to love them through it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That always comes up when I'm working with a newbie is, wow, I remember being there. I remember, the empathy that someone had for me, I can now have for them.
Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. So what did you think of Steps?
I loved it. It was, everything was divine. As soon as I checked myself in, it was like everything was divinely orchestrated. It was
It
like
all
that.
just fell into place.
Yeah, it was like that surrender happened, and now I was like, in God's will. I took that first step of faith and was just trusting something besides myself and my,
Because our best thinking gets us there. It's going to
Yeah.
take something bigger than us to get out. Right?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
okay. All right. Making sure I'm not the only one with these. Yeah. Pretty sure everybody that goes to a fellowship is familiar with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surrender.
All right. Well, you said the first 6 months was a little difficult. What'd that look like?
Yeah. Oh, so, I didn't have a license. I didn't have kind of the first, I went through residential day treatment. I waited a year to get into a relationship, or I waited that year, but I really woke up every day, like, trying to get out of hell was my goal, and to raise, remember I had this goal weekly, they'd have us write on these sheets what was our goal, and it was to raise my vibration, to, attract different things, because I knew that I was attracting kind of the same, I had an epiphany basically about the men in my past, and why didn't I want something new? I was always trying to fix things with these past guys. And I thought I really needed, shift in a big way. So I made that my goal, and I really dove in like I was climbing out of hell,
The thing that I think super cool about your story is just like how profound your awareness grew. Like from that day you woke up and went like, I'm literally living in hell. Like this is not fun, to the point of being able to do the interpersonal work and look back on relationships and be like, why am I doing this over and over again? Why am I trying to fix stuff from my past?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Like awareness is a big part of it. When it comes to behavioral change, we make it super complicated, but it's as easy as 3 steps. Number 1, you have to be aware of it. You have to be aware of the behavior. Number 2, you have to accept it. You have to accept that you're doing it. And then number 3, you have to try something different.
Yes.
And that's the 3,000, blimp view of it, but right? It's just super cool to hear you talk about those things and how it looked for you.
Yeah. I think that's been a lot of recovery is changing my actions and getting something different because
and wanting something better for your reality.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know. I thought, why can't I build the life that I, always wanted? And I just gave myself permission to really do it different.
So how'd you start?
This time.
No driver's license.
Oh yeah. So no driver's
In-day
license.
treatment.
So I just dove into the rooms dove into recovery, I guess the fellowship.
Which is a part of STEPS program. You have to go to 3 a week.
Yeah, go to 3 a week.
Which most clients always complain about. Why do I have to go to these 3 if it's,
Yes.
But there's a reason.
There's a reason.
And Lana's story. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just loving it over here.
Well, it's community long term,
Absolutely.
and that's what I had never understood before. I'd been to meetings before, but I just didn't hear the message. I didn't understand. No one really, But yeah, I got a sponsor. I went through, I guess, 5 different sponsors in the beginning, until I realized that I was the problem. It was like all these epiphanies of like, oh, this is me,
You don't like something, you just fire that sponsor and move on to another one.
Yeah, which I was totally doing.
After your 5th one, you go, hold on a minute. Maybe it's not them, maybe it's me.
Yeah. Maybe
Oh,
it's me.
too funny.
But yeah, the steps were big, the steps were huge for me. I guess the 12 steps is what, and so, yeah, I've done that. I work with new women, or I sponsor women, and and life just gets better and better. My aunt asked me to work at her diet center, so I get to work as a recovery or a diet coach. So I coach people through their weight loss and different programs I actually have. So nutrition is a big thing too. I really, when I first went to treatment, I became a vegan right off the bat. And that was, I think, part of some healing.
That was back in Florida.
No, this is through Steps. Yeah.
Okay.
4 years ago.
You chose to become a vegan.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. What made you decide, like, what interested you about that?
I think I heard something about a 7-day vegan challenge, and I thought, well, now would be a time to do it. I was really ready for change when I showed up there. And so I thought I would just throw that into the mix because I have such an obsessive personality that I knew that I needed something to obsess about.
Sure. And hey, that's a great thing to help, right?
Yeah.
You brought up something that I think is interesting, and I think it's important to explain to our listeners. Treatment, especially back on the East Coast, I feel like has gotten a really bad rap.
Oh, okay.
Like I went out to Pittsburgh to speak, and I told them I work for a treatment center, and this lady like just jumped down my throat, and she's like, "You're a body broker, and you're just selling people," and I'm like, "Whoa, that's the first time I've ever had that reaction." You talked about, but also fellowship is the other piece to your story too, right? So you got treatment, you got fellowship. Fellowship piece is important. I always use this analogy. Treatment helps you get to a place where you're stable enough physically, psychologically, to be able to get reintegrated back into life.
Yeah.
But the bridge between treatment and everyday life, and really the other side of that, is fellowship. It's community.
Yes.
If you can go in and out of treatment centers for 10 years and really not ever be able to fully reintegrate and be successful back in the community unless you become part of something in that community.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And that's where fellowship is so important. It's
So
that
important.
bridge. It's that. Does that make sense?
Yes. But
then I also go to fellowship meetings and I hear people say, "Oh, I paid $30,000 to go to treatment, and the fellowship's free." And I thought, come on, let's be fair.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you couldn't have gotten to this point if you were I don't know, maybe I'm
Yeah.
projecting here from my.
No, you're
I couldn't have just done fellowship right off the bat because I would have been so sick. I would have been crawling out of my skin. Right.
exactly. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That really is I don't know. That's the only jump that did it for me. I needed the treatment center, and then the recovery community. And I think that too. I made a goal to not move. I was going to integrate, plant my roots, and just grow here because I always have this. I want to leave I want to run away or move out, And so, community is huge. You're right on, Jared.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that, so first of all, a couple thoughts. I can see why it's important for you to stay put, right? Because you always come back.
Yeah.
Number two, you're also not running from yourself anymore.
Yeah.
You've actually started facing problems and addressing it and becoming more aware of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And number three, I can see why people told you to hold off until now to date. Almost your entire story, it was like boyfriend, then boyfriend, relationship here, right? It's awesome. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to that, though.
Yeah, I know. It was, it's part of my story, but.
So have you been working at the same place that you got your original very first job?
No, I cleaned rooms at two different places in town. So,
there it is.
And then my aunt asked me to, come work for her, which was a dream of mine to work in her, it's just health, it's ran basically, we just get into a lot of health, vitamins, we do vitamin shots and,
Give her a shout out. What's the name of the
it's Dr. Diet on St. George Boulevard.
Dr. Diet.
Yeah.
Go see Lana Rose at Dr. Diet on St. George Boulevard.
She'll love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but the reason why I ask is because a lot of people, I feel like we talk about the depths of where our addiction took us. We talk about what kind of got us out. But not too many times do I hear people talk about like the first job they ever got out.
Right, yeah.
Or having to take the bus.
Yes.
Like you said, you didn't have a driver's license, right?
No, and in fact, right after treatment, I went to the shelter. So I actually started out at the shelter because I didn't have money to move,
The homeless shelter.
The homeless shelter. And I really think that some of those things were important for me to build from the bottom up. I just realized at some point that I needed to do for myself what, I was always wanting other people to do for me, take me to the store, buy me food, all those little things.
Embrace the hard.
Yeah.
Get more independent.
Because it really gave me, this strength, I guess, that I could do life in a different way. Just those little things. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, for sure. Just because I work with people in early recovery all day, every day. Right. And so I hear them come and have these things that they bring to group and discuss. And some of that stuff is that, like, am I going to have to work as a janitor? This was my story, right? Am I going to have to work as a janitor for the rest of my life? That's a pretty terrible thought, right? Or am I ever going to be able to get my driver's license back? Am I going to be able to, not be on probation for the rest of my life? Like that's stuff that people face in early recovery. And I think that's why it's so hard to stay in recovery is not enough people share like, yeah, dude, been there. In the fellowship they do. And that's what's beautiful about it. Right.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, we got 3 minutes here.
Okay.
You're in life in recovery today.
Yes. Life in recovery.
4 years clean.
4 years clean.
What's the fun? What's the best thing about being clean today?
Oh my gosh. I think the joy of living and just, connection with people has been, man, I just never thought I could be this happy with myself and being, and with my own peace of mind and with knowing that I guess it really came, it really comes down to living in God's will, that the peace that comes with that, I feel like, and that's what I pray for every day, but it's just a joy to be alive. The life I never expected I would have, that I would have.
I hear serenity.
Yeah, it is. It's serenity.
Yeah. Just that peace of mind, like not running and gunning, not worrying, just kind of like being comfortable in your own skin. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Having family back in my life and relationships and being able to heal relationships.
How long did that take?
They started inviting me to family events, I would say, at year 2 of my sobriety. Yeah. And now I'm on all
Did they ever not believe you
the
in super early recovery? Were they ever just like, oh yeah, sure, you got your 6 months?
No, I totally kept them out of it. I was so focused on getting
Really?
me better. Yeah, that I just all of a sudden was like, oh, and my family's coming around. Wow.
That's
Didn't
awesome.
expect that.
That's so cool. What family stuff you got planned for this weekend?
I'll be at my aunt's and then my sister's in town. So we're going to do that. I'm going hiking with a good friend today. But yeah, so we'll probably do the Easter egg hunt.
So fun.
Yeah.
So cool. So cool. Lana, thank you for coming on here. And listen, looking back at the picture that from that intervention day to you now, like, I just want to applaud you, all the progress you've made. Like, thank you for being such a pillar in our community. Thank you for spreading, all the hope that you spread, that, it really is, like, recovery is possible. We do recover.
We do recover.
We do recover, right? It's my favorite, it's my favorite piece of literature. That's why I named the podcast.
Oh, I love
after
it.
that.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, 30 seconds out. What do you got?
Thank you, Jared, for letting... This is awesome what you do for our community, too. This is really great. And this is so much fun. And that's what recovery is about, too, is having fun, enjoying life, That's what we got to do.
Living it to the fullest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100.
Cool. Well, thank you again for coming on. We got 20 seconds left here. I guess the last thing I want to let everybody know is check it out. If you want to get a hold of us, you can give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 435-525-7555 or send us an email at wedorecoverwithjaredmiller@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. I'll be gone next week. Everybody stay safe.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from a podcast studio.